the beginning of my counseling career, I thought people were more aware of their circumstances than they otherwise were. And I don't mean that in a critical way. Like, I don't mean that to say, like, people are unaware and thus that's a flaw. I just thought there was more self-awareness out in the world than there was. I thought, like, abusers knew they were being abusers. I thought the people who were experiencing abuse knew they were experiencing abuse. But it turns out that abuse can be a very covert thing. And part of abuse is the manipulation that hides it. So usually the abuser, not only are they a verbal abuser, but they're also manipulative enough to make the person experiencing the abuse not know that it's happening. Because oftentimes it can be so covert. Lots of times in my therapy practice, people would come into my office, usually women, and they would discover that they had been manipulated, controlled, and abused by their partner through the process of therapy and the discovery of therapy. So how does this happen? How do you know when you have been subject to abuse? How do you know when that sort of thing has happened? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. So I'm thinking about this one client that I had. She was really unhappy in her marriage. She came to therapy as a consequence of just wanting to be happy. Wasn't even necessarily like, I'm unhappy in my marriage, but was just overall unhappy. And as we started to talk, so she's married, she's a mother of 4, she's been married about 20 years, and just kind of overall unhappy. Someone suggested that she come to therapy, calls me, and I'm the person that she comes to see. Through the process of therapy, we started talking a lot about, like, when you were happy, what things used to bring you joy. And dancing was constantly one of the things that she loved. Like, growing up, she loved dancing, and she took ballet, and she was nearly a professional ballet dancer. Like, it was a big part of her life, big part of her process. And she wanted to pursue that. At one point in her early adult years, she wanted to pursue that. And then she met the man who became her future husband. And very quickly, she became a housewife and had a child, had another child. When her husband noticed that she was really unhappy, they had another child. And through the process of therapy, the woman realized that I think my husband has been a hindrance to me. And not only that, but she realized she'd been controlled. He had isolated her from her family. He had used really unkind verbal words to make her feel low about herself. And whenever you do that, like, think about, if I'm this woman and I'm thinking about leaving my husband, I've got to have a really high sense of, like, my ability to handle difficult things. I've got to have a lot of confidence that I can do something really hard. So if you lower my self-esteem and make me feel worse about myself, my ability to do that goes down, right? That's a very common way that abusers will control the people around them. And she realizes, and he isolated her from her friends and family. Like, anytime she said, like, I've got some friends and I want to go take a girls trip, can you watch the kids? He would always find an excuse not to. Like, these are the things that took this really ambitious, really adventurous, spirited woman and domesticated her almost against her will without knowing it. And it doesn't happen instantaneously. It happens over time. Like, one weekend at a time, he says, no, I won't watch the kids. One comment at a time, making her feel less than she'd like to feel. And through the process of therapy, she regained her strength and regained who she was and discovered, I can be that person again. Ultimately decided to leave that husband, found a new partner, and is living a much more fulfilling life now. Now, I share that to say, somebody out there watching this or listening to this might feel like you are in a similar situation. You might feel like somehow I'm not clicking as the person I want to be. Like, it's not going the way I want it to go. Life is not unfolding how I envisioned it to. So what should you do? Rediscover who you were before that feeling set in. And remember, that person is still inside of you, and you have every right to make the decisions and choices that will lead you to be that person. And if there is somebody in your life that is holding you back from being that person, it is okay to make choices that free you from that, because the right person will encourage you and facilitate you becoming that person, not hold you back. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.